Well, I was reviewing in my mind the chakras. We go from the base of the spine, and then the creative area to the stomach, which is the sort of area that can experience peace, shalom, to the heart that's loving, kind, to the throat, which is expression of praise and gratitude. And then to the mind, which is able to be in communion with God, receives wisdom, thought, understanding, appreciation of the presence of God. So coming back to the first chakra, as it might be called in Eastern religion, the lowest one, is where your grounding is, your foundation. I've thought of it as integrity, but it's more, I think, it's the foundation of life. So I wondered if it was hope. Obviously there can't be hope without some integrity, because you've got to have something to build on, something that will hold together for the creative side, creativity, the joy. If I go through the emotions, I think it might be, I'm not sure what the first one is, but the second one is joy. The stomach is shalom, peace. I'll say peace rather than shalom because, well, that's essentially part of it anyway. What's the next one? The heart, which is love. The throat and voice, which is well, it's sound, of course, it's vibration, isn't it? But the good vibration, if you like, is gratitude. It's gratitude. And the mind, which is the emotion that goes with the thought and the wisdom. It's the communion. It's the way we really embrace God, person to person, isn't it? Intuition, communion with God, you see. The thoughts that come to us. So what's the first chakra down the bottom? Well, in a very simple way, the function of that area of the body is to get rid of waste material. We purify, we make holy, we separate out. If you don't have a waste disposal system, the body dies because it's choked up with the things that it needs to get rid of. Do you see? It's the very foundation of holiness, a foundation of separateness, so that we are not simply part of the chaos, but something that is functioning, an independence, an identity, self, I suspect it's the very concept of self. It's the soul. It's a holiness. Holiness is to say, I am a separate being. I distinguish between that which supports life and that which doesn't. The result is life. If on the other hand I have all the chaos together, I have no life. There's no order, there's no purity. So I then identify, you might think it's rather curious because you tend to think of the waste material as toilet and dirty, but the body that's getting rid of the waste is anything but dirty. It's purifying, clarifying, cleaning, clearing, separating out the stuff that shouldn't be there, so that the entire being can be. There's something, if we think of the emotions of the others, above it there's joy and creativity. Feel intense joy when you make love, of course. There's joy in creativity. You wouldn't be creating it otherwise. You think, oh, this is not worth doing. I think I'll stop. You're weeding part of the garden. You think, oh, I'm sure I need this bit weeded anyway. I think, I think I'll go indoors. I don't think I'll do this. Do you think? On the other hand, you think, I'll have a meal. So there's a creativity, there's a life force that says a meal will contribute to the life. Do that. Do you see there's a self that, a will, and when you, shall I say this word defecate, doesn't sound quite right for my usual conversations, but when you defecate, there's a will to defecate. There's a desire to clean, to clear, to excrete, to take out. It's like the housewife, she's cleaning the house, that it might be lovely to live in. It's the very foundation, isn't it? The desire to clean and make the bed and get some fresh air in here and make supper. You see, it starts to create like mad. It's, no, this is not the chaos of the outside wilderness. This is home. Do this, keeps it warm. Do this, it keeps it comfortable, free from germs. Do this, it stops cluttering up. I'll tidy that up. Throw the rubbish out. Clean the sink, clean the bath, clean the bedrooms. Put so-and-so away. Make it neat and tidy. Make it beautiful, which is to, again, have some notion of separateness from the chaos. Holiness. You need holiness. It is fundamental to life. If you destroy holiness, you destroy life. You see, God breathes into the Adam that he's made and he becomes a living soul. He now has life. And your entire goal of being here in the universe of the uncertainty and so on is that you might have life, life eternal. This incredible ability to separate yourself from the chaos. It has a sort of will a volition. You know, she starts to clean the house because she has a will to clean it. Her happiness is in a clean home, orderly, lovely home. It's something that achieves the individuality of her family. The family will prosper and be able to be. She wants a home. I need a better house, dear. We need to buy so-and-so. I need a better environment. I need a garden for the children. It must be fenced. It's not safe. I want so-and-so. I want. Do you see there's this volition, this will? She's conceiving of a family. He's not. He just thinks she's beautiful. But she's thinking, have children. I'm going to create. And children are an incredible purity in that you put together, somehow in you put together an entire being that functions, that again has life, that will take the very essence of life is purification, sanctification. It's set aside. We are sanctified. We're given a life start. We're breathed into us. We're inspired. He breathes life into us. And life is these amazing independent entities that are moving around in what would otherwise just be chaos. But they have an independence of themselves. They resist the destruction of the chaos, the continual sort of disintegration of things. There's an incredible integrity in them. And there seems to be an integrity by choosing some things and rejecting others. By having something that holds together. And it seems to be something that's just kicked into motion. It's the volition. The purifying in relation to a separateness, an ordering that's so distinct to the chaos and develops into a greater complexity of ordering until you get the human body, which is an extraordinary ordering of bits of the universe, matter put together in a certain way that gives this fantastic being that we call a person. The essence of personhood is this ability to get rid of certain things instead of just having the great porridge mix that the universe could otherwise be. It is an ordering, it is an integrity that holds together and resists decay, that resists infringement of its ordering and its purity. So, that first chakra is the foundation of life. I think the word integrity is quite good, but it's a bit like peace is not adequate. We need the word shalom. Joy is not quite adequate. We need the notion of creativity in the second chakra, It's creative. Joy in creating. Satisfaction in creating. So the first chakra is satisfaction in holiness, separateness. We are holiness, sanctified, separated to life. It's the very life principle is sanctification. Without holiness, without sanctification, nothing happens. You just have matter constantly mixing with other matter and endless sort of achieving nothing, if you like. No distinction. The universe is just a porridge of energy. Hasn't yet clustered into chunks of matter. You see, matter is by definition separateness, a concentration of something, energy, as opposed to no energy. Clusters of energy, tight balls of it, which we would call atoms and so on. And it's this integrity with which you can start to build things. You could make a star, you could make a chunk of rock, whatever. And we take these different bits of chaos out there, and we have in volition, we have a separateness, a sanctification, a holiness, a creativity, a soul. And the soul has come somehow from God breathing into it life. He's the God of life. For all live unto him. When he comes into matter, there is life. Immediately from the matter, really close by, what happens? Creativity, joy. The joy that's establishing a momentum of more creativity. And of course it reaches an absolute zenith in making love, and whoa, they've conceived of a child. Wow, that's an achievement. How does that happen? So, we have mistakenly focused, if you like, on going up the chakras, so to speak. We go from integrity, let me say holiness. Can you feel holiness? You can, can't you? When you clean the car, there's something of purity now. It's absolutely right now for its purpose. You got rid of the rubbish in the car and you cleaned it, and it's what the wife is doing all the time. In the traditional household, I mean. She cleans the home. Oh, lovely, darling. I feel I can rest and breathe and live and be comfortable and flourish here. And the children flourish. It's a safe and good home. My friend has 10 children, and, well, of course the work is just too much even for both of them. Neither of them go out to work, but they can't keep up with 10 children and a household and a garden that's appropriate. They can't keep up with the chaos. And they're just hoping and trusting in God that he brings the children up and them up through the chaos okay. And of course life is like that everywhere. At the other end, life on the planet, for these nations is they're there is no real security other than what God seems to manage with the chaos that goes on internationally, in politics and so on. It's the same with the market, isn't it? No one's really in charge of the market. Suddenly people are responding to needs and capitalising on certain ideas and so on. And the hidden hand, as Adam Smith quite rightly recognised, is yet another aspect of God that can take this porridge of selfishness, this extraordinary chaos and mix, and you start to see the market has a structure, has an ability to allocate resources. Not in a perfect way, goodness, I'm an economist. We lecture on market failure, but we also lecture on the incredible success of the market in allocating resources. It is what the science is about. Trying to understand how we are so blessed by this extraordinary market phenomenon of what we understand to be selfish individuals. And we're blessed by it. Well, we're not all blessed by it, of course, and that's the problem, but life goes on, and without it, it's like saying, what's society like without government and rulership? Well, it's chaos, it's nightmare, it's death, and the economy too. I mean, without that allocation of resources that is going on, albeit rather imperfectly, we have no life at all. Population starves death. We're down to the level of the wild creatures in the bush, in the jungle. Interesting, isn't it? Civilizations are just staggering, you know. Staggering. Okay, there may be appalling things that happen in civilizations, wars and so on, but it is quite extraordinary. Let me pause. We have then that God is the author of life. He is life, God of the living God. He is life, and He is the author of all life, the giver of life. What is life? It's a distinction to the chaos of the universe, of uncertainty. There's an ordering, a predictability, a separateness, a holiness. It's sanctified to a separateness. It's life. Purity gets rid of the waste, keeps that which is conducive to separate being, is a separation from, a distinction, a purity in that it's not just all, it's a particular resistance to some and acceptance of others. It's good and evil at the very start, isn't it? It rejects that which is not going to contribute to this personhood, this being, this life. I'd like to just, what might seem as a digression, let's see it. My friend, tricky individual he is, points out the motor car. It's just like the person. It's got two eyes, headlights. It's got a mouth, the grill, the air intake. It takes in air just like we do. It needs it for the engine to run. It needs it for the occupant, the driver, to have fresh air inside, of course, too, at some sort of advanced level. But at a primitive level, it's just needed to help in the firing of the engine. It consumes food, fuel. It has a stomach, therefore, and it has a reservoir in which it keeps the fuel ready for, that's what the body has fats and, some sort of reserve set up so that you don't have to continuously fill up with fuel. You fill up with food and then you digest it, you use it, you save it and store the energy and use the energy when you want. And you have a voice too, it's the horn. You go, hey, get out of my way. Well, you're not supposed to do it that way. You're supposed to do it to rescue and help people. Saying, if you do realise I'm here, this is a bit dangerous, can you concentrate? You communicate, you see, with others through the horn. And we have headlights, of course, that they're not just their eyes, they show up, they help us see, help the vehicle keep itself intact by not hitting things and so forth. What else is there? It has feet, in the four wheels, of course. And interestingly, we have four limbs too. Much of the life forms does have four, whether we're on all fours or whether we're just using two to stand on and two to use whatever. And when we shift to the electric car, what if you think, oh yes, there's another thing. Before we got to the electric car, we were using computers in the car. In other words, the car starts to have a mind, a controlling, organising mechanism, where you can give it a program and the whole car will now function accordingly. That's quite something, isn't it? Fancy giving it a mind. Now, this is not a vehicle that can reproduce itself. Of course, it doesn't have quite the sophistication that the human body has. But, wow, it's quite something, isn't it? It's as if we made it in our own image, haven't we? We claim, well, in the Christian setup, in the Judaic tradition, we claim that God has made man in his own image. Now, can you look at a motor car and say, oh, this gives me a clue as to what man looks like? Not what he looks like, no, but how he functions, in some ways, yes. Quite amazing, isn't it? And of course, we purify to do this. We make steel, we make paint, we put the paint in the right place. We don't fill up the engine with paint. We don't throw petrol over the car and fill up the inside of the car with petrol. Everything has its place, its order. It's purified. This is so-and-so, no, this is such and so. This is where we keep the water for the cooling system, the heating system. But we don't let water fill the entire cab of the car or the engine because it's not appropriate there. Everything has its place. It's purified. The whole vehicle from the works is sanctified. And when you take it for servicing, it's purifying, keeping the vehicle holy. Says, oh, that shouldn't be there, that needs replacing, that's broken down, that needs putting right again. Everything is being put back into order. It has an integrity about it that holds its order. You might adjust it a bit. Engine needs retuning. Goodness, oh yes, I do. Better change the oil. That's not good. Won't function well if that oil doesn't get replaced and renewed. Do you see there's a constant sanctification going on for life? Life is this astonishing ordering which we do in the factory in the first place, where we take basically the contents of the surface of the planet. We put it together to make a vehicle. Wow. Wow, isn't creation staggering? When I look out across the fields or the bush or the jungle and I think, now from this I can make a motor car. You're joking. And where else do you think the motor car comes from? But from the surface of the planet. How? Well, you've got this incredible integrity of materials, using that integrity, its integrity, in different ways, getting rid of stuff that's going to stop a certain relationship of parts to parts that you make. Absolutely staggering. And you come up with a motor car. I mean, it doesn't reproduce itself. It doesn't even maintain itself. You've got to do that from outside. You're the god, aren't you, that takes it to the service, pays the garage to service it for you. You get it done. Okay, let me pause again, can I? Well, it might seem a bit more obvious than I thought now. When you make a motor car, you create it. You put it together. You're external to the existence of the car. It doesn't exist yet. But you start to make a machine that's going to be useful to you in some way. And astonishingly, it looks as though it's made in your image. I don't mean too literally, but, you know, it's got two headlights. It's got a nose. It breathes in air, perhaps, if you've got the infernal combustion engine that seems to pollute our planet. But I mean, you've shifted to electric, but you've got a brain in there. It's computer operated, and wow, you've created mankind, working together in its astonishing society and civilization, has made a motor car. Now, because it's toys compared to God making people. You know, Adam, I mean, gosh, that's an incredible, bewildering complexity, and requires an astonishing purity, sanctification. You know, the blood can't even run at slightly the wrong temperature without chaos starting to happen, you know. You can't put certain minerals in the body. The jaw just wrecks it, kills it like that. You can't, I mean, it's incredibly fragile in some ways. It's just flesh and skin. It's not tough metal, but on the other hand, it has an ability to repair and protect itself that, wow, body might last 70 years. In some cases, lasted 100 years. Wow, that's quite a machine, isn't it? And of course it has the ability to reproduce itself, and in variety at that. Breathtakingly complex compared to our motor car, say. Do you see, we've been sanctified, we've been purified, separated from the chaos. And that first chakra, you see, is getting rid of the dirt, rid of the stuff you shouldn't have, that you might have life. It's the integrity of the entire system depends on the rubbish man calling each week. Have you any idea what your city's like if there's no rubbish man? And even the occupants of the village, the town, the city, don't clear their rubbish. Wow, the rats take over. The cockroaches, the infestation, the disease, pandemics, you know, you lose your grip quite quickly. We are constantly needing sanctification, separating from the rubbish, purification, purity. Purity is life. In fact, we conceptualize God as, sure, we conceptualize him as the Father, but we actually mean by that the uncreated God. He's so holy, he's separate from all of it. But he's not, of course. On the contrary, he's made a family so that he can have company. He wants fellowship. He's not complete without this fascinating complexity of individuals coming together in a wonderful family harmony, which we call the host of heaven. Well, that's the sort of Christian conception of it, but you see what I mean. There's something about it going on, isn't there? Wow. I think I'll pause again. Thank you, Heavenly Father. So that first chakra is life. He breathes into Adam, and Adam becomes a living soul. By which I mean he's sanctified, purified, organized to be a separate individual, a person. Becomes a living soul. And it seems that the purpose of our parent, our dad, our mum and dad, God is both in some sense, whatever these qualities are, the completeness of his being, his purpose is that he has beings separate like himself, that he can be in fellowship, family relationship with. He wants to be complete. He doesn't want to be lonely. I'm come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Come to bless you. Come to give you eternal life. I want you to be a super adult like myself. Wonderful being. And I'm delighting in having you as my kids. I've created you. You're mine. Wow. Do you love your kids? Well, you can grasp perhaps, therefore, to some extent, how God loves having you. And how he cares for you. How he does everything that you're able to prosper and be in health. And joy and peace and goodness and creativity and love and full fellowship with him. Wow. 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 Thank you, Dad.